Donald Trump is panicking as Iran has responded with force after the United States hit Iranian sites in the Strait of Hormuz by Bandar Abbas. The United States hit missile sites and certain Iranian boats yesterday, and Iran has responded claiming that it shot down a U.S. MQ-9 drone and fired at a U.S. F-35 fighter and RQ-4 drone in direct response to the U.S. strikes on Iran. The Iranian Foreign Ministry says that the U.S. strikes were a ceasefire violation, and Iran will use all legitimate and necessary tools to respond to these attacks, deeming that these are major ceasefire violations. I mean, the very fact that Iran is claiming it has been able to target these F-35s is significant, as they often have been able to avoid radar detection in the past. There's video footage coming out as well of the MQ-9 model drone that Iran saying it hit from the skies. You can see it right there. And this also comes on the same day, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, where Donald Trump is heading to Walter Reed. So while Iran is announcing this, Donald Trump is currently at the hospital for most of today. They're claiming it's a routine checkup. We'll be checking in a little bit and talking about that, but let's talk about more of Iran's response right here. MB Ghalibaf, Iran's lead negotiator with the United States, one of his kind of top spokespeople, posted the following message. Iran is developing new tactical surprises in response to U.S. aggression. Yesterday's clash occurred after the IRGC shot down an advanced MQ-9 drone and fired toward a U.S. F-35. The U.S. has failed militarily in opening the Strait of Hormuz and is concerned about the consolidation of Iran's desired protocol for passage through the strait. Currently, approximately 30 vessels pass through the strait daily under Iran's protocol. Regardless of the status of negotiations, any type of aggression will be met with an immediate response. Also, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini has issued a number of statements as well today. He wrote the following: "What is certain in this regard is that the hands of time will not turn back, and the nations and lands of the region will no longer serve as shields for U.S. bases. The United States will no longer have a safe haven for its mischief and for establishing military bases in West Asia. The shaken Zionist regime and the cancerous tumor of Israel are approaching the final stages of their wretched existence." These are the statements coming from the Ayatollah this morning after the United States strikes on Iran. Also, a member of Iran's parliament, Abraham Razaei, wrote the following: "To the owners of glass houses, prepare your shelters, get your bunkers ready." And we're also learning this morning that a tanker has been hit in the Strait of Hormuz, about 60 nautical miles east of Muscat, Oman. We're seeing right here the crew and ship appear to be safe. Some fuel leaking into the sea, but this tanker was just hit a little bit earlier. We will, of course, give you updates as those updates come in here at the MeidasTouch Network. Earlier this morning as well, Israel's national security minister, the far right-wing extremist Ben Gvir, he was there taunting the individuals from the flotilla that was heading to Gaza. He says that the Israel government will not let Donald Trump sign a bad deal with Iran, that Israel and Netanyahu and the Israeli government are coordinating with Donald Trump, and they will not let any deal take place that they say in any way hurts the interest of Israel. And again, breaking this morning, IDF, Israel's IDF, has begun a ground invasion beyond its self-declared yellow line buffer zone in southern Lebanon, escalating things in Lebanon as well. They've also issued another warning to certain people in Beirut to immediately evacuate, as neighborhoods will be blown up imminently. The IDF just put out a notice this morning calling for additional evacuations, saying that they will be blowing up neighborhoods in Beirut. Now, also this morning, according to the U.S. Navy, issuing a statement that they claim they are, this is according to the Wall Street Journal rather, that the U.S. Navy has resumed escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz under a renewed Project Freedom mission. So they're bringing Project Freedom back, which lasted 12 hours, and now they're bringing this back. According to the Wall Street Journal, a Greek supertanker carrying 2 million barrels of crude was recently guided through the route after being stranded in the Gulf since March. The Navy is expected to assist about a dozen more vessels, including tankers and container ships, in the coming days. Not sure if that announcement then led to the tanker that was shot that we just talked about moments ago. But we obviously need to gather more information here. The Trump regime lies to manipulate the markets very frequently. They did appear to manipulate the markets today to have the price of gas go down and to have the stock market rise. So we'll keep you posted as we learn more there. And also, after we heard that Israel is saying that through its National Security Minister, Ben Gvir, that they will not let Donald Trump sign a bad deal. Apparently, there's also a meeting that will be taking place tomorrow at Camp David. Will be taking place on Wednesday. Donald Trump convening this cabinet meeting with Iran expected to dominate the agenda, including the recent U.S. strikes, violations of the ceasefire by the United States, which the U.S. said, we didn't violate the ceasefire. These were defensive strikes, is what the U.S. said. These weren't offensive. We defensively hit Iran, and other matters relating to the Strait of Hormuz. As I mentioned at the outset of this video, Donald Trump heading to the hospital today. He's heading to Walter Reed. They say this is his annual checkup. It should be noted he had another annual checkup back in October of 2025 where he had advanced imaging done, an MRI. Trump said then he didn't know what part of the body the MRI was on. And then before that, he had a annual checkup on April of 2025. So now he's having one May 26th of 2026. Before Donald Trump headed to Walter Reed, he posted the following images. This is an image of Donald Trump in the letter Q, just so you can see for yourself. And it says, game over deep state. If you look at Donald Trump's collar, it says Q plus on it. And so while Donald Trump is covering up a child sex trafficking ring in the Epstein files, as he's heading to the hospital, he's posting QAnon memes. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say QAnon is a death cult. It's literally a cult that says that Donald Trump is going to behead the Democrat deep state purveyors on the steps of Capitol Hill. And that's when the storm is coming. And this is a dangerous death psychotic cult. And Donald Trump posting memes with himself in the letter Q with Q plus on his collar. And it says game over deep state. Not a single corporate news outlet will cover this because they go, oh, that's just Donald being Donald. We need to accept this. We should never accept this behavior. Then Donald Trump posts a photo of himself with a shotgun hunting rhinoceroses, and then it says no rhinos. Repost to make the point clear. Obviously, Donald Trump threatening to, in my opinion, kill Republicans who are not ultra MAGA. Then he makes deranged posts of Obama, Hillary Clinton, former President Biden, then Hunter Biden snorting cocaine. There's ice cream on the desk. Biden is sleeping. This is the type of disgusting slop that Donald Trump is posting each day. More posts about former President Obama holding stacks of cash. I mean, hey, Obama's not the president. Obama did a deal, Donald. You like to talk about deals. You're so thirsty for deals. Obama did the JCPOA where he didn't give them new money. He unfroze certain funds and in a multilateral way stopped Iran from getting nuclear weapons without a war. Whereas you are in a war. You're covering up right now what's actually happening in the war. You entered into a deal that was a weaker version of the JCPOA. And then when you were called out by the warmongers in your party and by Israel and by Smootris and by Ben Gvir and Netanyahu and others, you don't know what to do. And so now you're frozen again like the pathetic loser that you are. And all you have is your memes. The master negotiator, the art of the deal. What deal? What deal have you made? What deal have you made other than just be a complete and pathetic loser? Now, Iran knows that Donald Trump is heading to the hospital today. This is what Iran posted. The president of the terrorist American government has been taken to the hospital. This is the third time this year that Donald Trump has been taken to the hospital. Dr. Jonathan Reiner, renowned cardiologist. He was actually Cheney's cardiologist. He's at George Washington Hospital. He's treated many top leaders. This guy's one of the top doctors out there, especially in the Washington, D.C. area. Here's what Dr. Jonathan Reiner said about Trump's visit. Let's play it.
I do want to see this during this examination, a credible explanation for his visible health concerns, his bruising, which initially was described as due to vigorous handshaking, which is not credible, his severe edema in his ankles, which was described as chronic venous insufficiency, when just 3 months before, 1 year ago, his examination disclosed that he had no edema, which would then make it acute venous insufficiency, which is an entirely different thing. And finally, the president has severe daytime somnolence. He falls asleep very often. He's fallen asleep in the Oval Office on multiple occasions with people talking to him in the cabinet room, and was concerned yesterday that he might have fallen asleep at Arlington National Cemetery during Memorial Day observances. And chronic insomnia is a severe illness. It can result in an increase in the risk of dementia, decrease in cognitive effects in older people. It's equivalent to about increasing your age by about 3.5 years. It increases your cardiac risk of having a heart attack or developing congestive heart failure. And it can produce a decline in your sort of mental functions, like it could increase depression, anxiety. So it's a real problem, and the president appears to struggle to stay awake during the day. And I'd like to hear what the White House has done to evaluate why the president has this increased daytime somnolence and what they're doing to improve that.
More from Dr. Jonathan Reiner. Let's play this clip.
Well, first of all, we've never had an adequate explanation of why the president went to Walter Reed in October for off-cycle testing. The president's team hates taking the president to Walter Reed, and they only take the president there when there is testing that they need to do that cannot be accomplished at the White House. The White House has a prodigious capacity to test and treat the president and his team. So you only go to Walter Reed when you need something like a CAT scan or an MRI scan or some other invasive modality. And it's never been adequately explained why they took the president there. His physician later said that he went there for preventative testing, which really makes no sense, because it creates the kind of concern and speculation that occurs when the president, in a almost unannounced way, goes to Walter Reed for unusual testing. So I'd like to hear much more of a fulsome explanation from Dr. Barbabella about what that testing showed. Well, one other thing, I'll be very interested to see what testing they do today, because if they repeat some of the scans that have been done in the last year or so, then that tells us that they are surveilling something, and that's never been disclosed to us.
Very interesting.
Now, even Newsmax, a state regime media like Fox, and maybe some of you would say even a more extreme state regime media than Fox, even they're not buying what the Trump regime is selling. They had a State Department spokesperson, Tommy Pigott, on, and they said, why are you claiming there's a ceasefire? Isn't that just an utter farce? Here, play this clip.
Tommy, then why do we continue the farce of calling it a ceasefire? Let's just say we've still got this conflict ongoing. I don't think the American people, are going to be upset about that. Either you support it or you don't, but we clearly don't have a ceasefire.
Well, I think two things here. First are the objectives laid out by Operation Epic Fury, which was the decimation of their military, their air force, their Navy capacity, the ballistic missile capacity. We saw those objectives largely be fulfilled. So that's Operation Epic Fury, already making the world safer. I think then in the second context is that in this context when these conversations are happening, is that President Trump holds all of the cards. We see that blockade of Iranian ships and ports. We see economic fury. We see the decisive outcomes from Operation Epic Fury. And that is the context in which this is happening. So fundamentally, President Trump going to see this objective be fulfilled. We're going to take actions necessary to defend U.S. troops, U.S. interests. And then fundamentally, President Trump holds all of the cards in this circumstance to make a good deal for the American people and see that objective be fulfilled.
Tommy, to that point,
Then Trump's national economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, went on state regime media Fox, and they asked, are you worried about affordability? He goes, a lot of stuff's driving up the prices, like these stupid rules about refrigerators. That's my big worry, these stupid rules about refrigerators. Here, let's play this clip.
But are you worried about affordability right now, Kevin? I mean, when you look at the price of groceries and insurance and housing and all the rest, a couple of months away from the midterms?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The price of gas has got to come down. That we've got to continue to do things like make sure that all the grocery stores aren't closing because of stupid rules about refrigerators. We've got to do all of the above to get prices back down. We are 100% concerned about affordability, but we're doing micro things and macro things to make sure that inflation goes down. And I think that when you watch how steady core has been, then you see that our efforts are being successful. Like, we could do better going forward, especially if we get gas prices down. But inflation's coming down. It's lower than it was when President Trump took office, and it's in the right trajectory once we get energy prices going in the right way.
Well, look,
MAGA Republican Senator from Pennsylvania, Dave McCormick, he joined State Regime Media today. Here's what he had to say.
What did you hear over Memorial Day weekend from your constituents in Pennsylvania that are dealing with higher gas prices and wondering when or if this is going to end in a good way?
Well, the president didn't get to choose when he was going to take this action. It was essentially the result of a growing risk from Iran. And unfortunately, past presidents hadn't dealt with it, and this needed to be dealt with. So I applaud him for having the strength.
More from McCormick right here. Let's play it.
Question. Marco Rubio said the Strait of Hormuz must be opened one way or another. Do you agree? And what would be the other?
Well, I absolutely agree. We've got incredible assets in the region, and we've already made headway in creating a corridor. So we're going to have to use the military to open up the strait and give assurance to commercial vessels. We have the capability to do that. It won't be easy, but that's ultimately the hard way. The easy way would be for Iran to pursue a path of peace and prosperity and to give up its path to a nuclear weapon.
And here McCormick refers to the Trump administration. He refers to the regime as the regime, and the Republicans, they normally say administration, and he goes, the regime, even Republicans are calling it the regime. Here, play this clip.
The alternative of Iran with a nuclear weapon that could threaten America or its kids, which was very likely to happen under President Trump's regime, his administration, if we hadn't taken action, I think is an unacceptable alternative for anybody.
And then you have Doug Burgum, Trump's interior secretary, who again has this bizarre fantasy fiction of what Donald Trump does. And Doug Burgum is like, and Donald Trump did a great deal this weekend. He brought all the Arab nations together and brought them together to join the Abraham Accord so they can all become allies with Israel. What a great deal Donald Trump did. Okay, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan all immediately rebuked Donald Trump. They said, we're not joining the Abraham Accords with Israel. What are you talking about? When there's a two-state solution, when Palestine's recognized, when the genocide ends, then we can talk about Abraham Accords. But until then, we ain't joining that. But in Trump fiction world, Abraham Accords, everybody's allied with Israel, according to Trump. Let's play this clip.
Well, Maria, it's obviously President Trump 2 moves ahead of his critics, as always. Nothing short of aspiration for peace in the Middle East. I mean, who on a Saturday afternoon over a holiday weekend can pull together all of the world leaders from the Gulf state allies, but also Egypt, Pakistan, Turkey, get them all on a phone call and, paint a vision, which again is peace and prosperity in the Middle East, which is some people thought never could be achieved. But he's put all the conditions in place for this to come together. And this is going to be great for not just for the United States, but for the world economy and for peace and prosperity around the world.
Yeah, but the president needs that Strait of Hormuz open.
And then I'll leave you with this last image. Let's cue the B-roll salty right here. This is Marco Rubio arriving a few days back in New Delhi in India, where nobody greeted him. 0 people except one American kind of military person who was there, but nobody greeted Marco Rubio. Just think about in India, and they were sending a message India sending a message to Rubio that, like, you're really not welcomed here. And all of your attacks on India, all of your attacks on the international order, it's not well received here. I mean, as I watch this image, and you could hear, I'm not going to play because it's hard to hear though, but Rubio says, where is everybody? Not greeted by the foreign minister of India, not greeted by Modi, of course, not like literally nobody showing up for the United States Secretary of State. That video to me is so telling, because in the past there would be a huge reception at the tarmac for the United States Secretary of State. This is what the United States has become. America first has meant America all alone. And sadly, you're seeing that at large right now. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody. Just double check that you're subscribed and let's get to 7 million.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.